Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. My name is Trainer Chip Ritchie, joined here as always by my regular co-host Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Chip. Excited for this very special Uncommon Energy episode.
And that's right. And if you are watching on YouTube, you have already seen that we have a special guest this week joining us from Ohio, from Full Grip Games, our good friend, a regional champion, someone who's top eighted multiple regionals. In addition to that, also an international top eight, ninth place at the World Championships in 2015. The owner and host of Tricky Gym with nearly 90,000 subs on YouTube and over 30,000 followers on Twitch. The creator of the Gym Leader Challenge format, our friend, Andrew Mahone. What's going on, Andrew? Thanks for joining us, man.
What's up, Chip? I don't know if I can live up to that intro, but dang. Yeah, I feel like, one of those, you're reading someone's, titles and stuff, back in the Dizzy, like a king or something.
Yes, King
Uh,
Mahone has joined us.
like you got reading all my titles first, but no, that's I'm really excited to be here. This podcast has been doing incredible, and it's been awesome to watch you guys grow as a duo. So it's been awesome, and I'm really stoked to be here.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. We've had a good time doing it, so I appreciate the kind words. We're going to be spending some time this week talking about the Gym Leader Challenge format. Of course, the alternate format that Andrew created. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the episode. But real quick, let's just recap the weeks, how things have been going for all of us. Azul, how's your past week been, man?
It was like okay. I was sick at the beginning of the week. Definitely probably got something from NAIC. I don't know what it was, like the post event flu or whatever it is, the pokebug. And then my AC also broke. Like I have like a specific, like I have like an AC unit in my room because it gets so hot in my room with like my computer on, my lights on, and then the central air does not get very good back here in this back part of the house. So I have like my own AC unit in the window, but it broke this week, so I've been like getting everything together to get another one of those and get that installed in the window. I finally got that fixed yesterday, so I'm going to be finally back to like creating content and stuff this week. So been a little bit of an up and down week, but finally back on track.
Yeah, I had kind of an interesting week as well. Had some like family stuff to tend to earlier on in the week, and then I went and saw Thor: Love and Thunder, the new Marvel movie. Was not my favorite, not gonna lie. Reviews online have been pretty mixed, and I would say the reviews are pretty accurate. There was some cool stuff in it, but it was definitely not my favorite of the Marvel movies.
Mm.
Also,
Should
did
have
find
seen.
out what's that?
You should have seen Minions, bro.
I should have seen Minions. Yeah, definitely.
Misplay.
It probably would have been better, that's for sure. Then I did find out on Friday that my wife and I both have COVID,
Mm.
unfortunately. So we're stuck at home, quarantining it up. I have not been doing too bad. Thankfully, Brooke has been a little bit more sick. You know, she's 32 weeks pregnant in addition to having COVID, but she's doing okay. All things considered, just kind of congested, and she's taking it easy on the couch. So, not too bad, but we're getting through it. What about you, Andrew? How's your past week been? You've got a kind of exciting week coming up, I know.
I do. Yes, things have been pretty crazy because I'm getting married next weekend. So very excited about that. Natalie and I have been planning our wedding now for just over a year, and the week is finally here. So thrilled about that. It's just going to be, a big party with our families and friends and time to celebrate, and really looking forward to that. Also going on vacation for 2 weeks after that. So I'll get to take a little bit of time off of content creation this week, just cleaning. We cleaned out our garage this weekend, which was, exciting because it was kind of filthy. And, we got to go to the Lowe's and pick out a whole bunch of different, organizational things like shelves and all that stuff. And, now it looks nice. So
Let's go.
that was a big endeavor. I'm exhausted, but, it's part of owning a home. So thankful to be able to do it.
It is indeed. Okay, so let's just break down exactly what we're going to be going through in the episode this week. Starting things off, we'll talk briefly about our thoughts all on the current meta with the new Pokemon Go set added. I know Andrew has been streaming and playing a lot of the new set, so we'll get some of his insight as well into his thoughts on where things are at right now. Of course, we're going to talk GLC, the alternate Pokemon TCG format that Andrew was a big part and is the creator of. The start of the format, we'll talk about just kind of the processes of the format, how you build a deck, and how it has grown over the past year, because I believe this week is actually the 1 year anniversary of Gym Leader Challenge, if I'm not mistaken, right, Andrew?
It is. Yes, I think Thursday. It's been a year since we first streamed Gym Leader Challenge and started promoting it. So really, really stoked about that.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, we will have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's real favorite part of the podcast, where this week we are actually going to be having our guest, Andrew, guessing the flavor text. So he's going to have an opportunity to see how he stacks up. There is a chance that in just one single guess, he could pass both me and Azul in points, since we both, after 17 weeks, have 2 points apiece. Okay, anyway, moving on. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll discuss some of the new cards that were recently revealed coming out in Lost Origin later on this year. Some really cool, interesting cards, Aerodactyl V-Star, and then actually a couple cards that could have an impact on the Gym Leader Challenge format. So what better person to discuss it with than Andrew himself? But all that sound good, guys? You ready to hop into it?
Let's do it.
Let's get it. So yeah, first thing up is current meta, and I guess like initially, now that we have Andrew here, because we've talked about it the last couple weeks, just what do you think? I guess we should just ask Andrew initially, what do you think about the Pokemon Go set as a whole and its like impact on like current standard? I think at the end of last standard, we knew Arceus and Teleon, Palkia and Teleon were the top dogs. Mew was like right behind them. But what do you think about Pokemon Go so far with what you've played in it?
The Pokemon Go set is really cool, actually, for a mini set or a specialty set or, whatever you want to call it. There are a lot of playable cards. I think that the Pokestop Stadium is an incredible new stadium that kind of adds to the sort of turbo engine that was already developing in standard. We saw decks go for, the kind of trekking shoes style engine, right? The Palkia V-Star list that won the regional championships in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then also the Dialga V-Star lists were kind of, using this kind of engine. And now with the Pokestop Stadium card, you've got another turbo trainer to help you just churn through your deck. And I think it's a great card because it's a draw card, right? It's a draw card that allows you to just churn through resources, but it doesn't require that you put a liability into play. So it is really good for single prize decks and decks that wants to, I think, have more control over the liabilities that they put into play, like the Lunatone Soul Rock deck, which I love. I think that deck is a ton of fun. For me, it's just been a huge breath of fresh air to be able to, pilot a deck like that doesn't have to have Pokemon V in play or anything like that. That can just be snappy, fast, and aggressive. Reminds me a little bit of Night March in a way. The power level isn't the same, relative to its respective era, but it can attack on the first turn of the game, which is really big for a single prize deck because a lot of single prize decks are not attacking on the first turn of the game. But I feel like the Lunatone Soul Rock deck can consistently, do 120 damage on the first turn of the game going second, which is not insignificant if you're swinging into a Pokemon V or you're taking a Sobble knockout or something like that. That's where the single prize decks really want to be right now. So the deck feels really cool to play. I've definitely been enjoying my time with it. I think that there are a lot of really cool stage 2 Pokemon. All right, primarily there's the Blastoise and the Charizard, right? So both of those are pretty cool. Neat. The Blastoise accelerates 6 energy into play straight from the deck. It ends your turn. Ending your turn in standard is a that's tough, with a stage 2. But of course, there are, there's like Arita to get the Blastoise into play. Arita can just go get the Blastoise rare candy, which is pretty neat.
Yep.
And I think that the Blastoise kind of inspires creative deck building. Will any of the decks that Blastoise is featured in be tier 1 decks? I don't think so, unless there's some sort of like crazy concoction that, can really take advantage of having, a lot of energy in play, and then can somehow, get around the fact that you're ending your turn. Cross switchers are kind of a nuisance for these kinds of Blastoise decks that rely on Diancie to make sure that your guys aren't getting gusted, your energy's not getting gusted. And cross switcher is a really good card right now. So I think that the Blastoise decks and the Charizard decks won't be those upper tier decks in standard, but they are fun cards that have been really cool to mess around with and build new decks with. And then as far as the new Radiant Pokemon go, I think that Radiant Blastoise, Radiant Charizard, and Radiant Venusaur, Radiant Eevee, I don't necessarily know that there's like a great use for that card. But the Venusaur, the Blastoise, and the Charizard are all really cool. The Charizard is just a deck by itself. You could just, pair that with Inteleon, and then you've got a single prize deck that can just do 280 damage almost every turn after your opponent takes a prize card, using Raihan and Twin Energies and things like that to power it up in the early game. And then, for the last 2 prizes, it's doing 250 damage for just 1 fire energy. So that's kind of neat. And then the Venusaur is really neat for single prize decks, being able to fill your hand to 4 after your turn ends. I think that that's just a super cool draw engine for, again, decks that don't want to have multi-prize Pokemon in play, which is one of the reasons I think this set is so good for single prize decks. And then the Blastoise, being able to add on to the, the sniping potential of the Inteleon decks with the Rapid Strike Inteleon, I think is really powerful also. So interested to see how these guys mix up the metagame, and I think that the set is really strong for a mini set.
Yeah, definitely. When you think about it in the scope of other mini sets we've had in the past, on paper, it definitely seems like it's going to have quite a bit bigger impact than something like, Shining Fates, or even like, Hidden Fates. Shining Legends obviously gave us Zoroark GX, so it's going to be hard for any mini set to ever top that. But, it is definitely seemed very solid on paper thus far. But then the thing is, whenever we look at tournament results, we're about a week into the format now, and we look at online tournaments, which is kind of the main way people are playing cards these days. It's not really seemed like there has been much of an impact. It's like we see a couple of the Lunatone Solrock deck in top 8. You see the Magikarp deck actually making top 8 at a couple of these online events, but not really anything from Mewtwo V-Star, not really anything from Charizard, the Radiant Charizard, which I think that card will definitely be played like alongside Arceus probably, or just like a Charizard Inteleon deck to some success once like actual tournaments and stuff start happening again in the fall, or like maybe even at the World Championships, because Charizard is just a little too good, I think. But yeah, for now, it's pretty much why, I guess, starting with Azul, we can ask like, why is that people aren't, are people just like not experimenting enough with these cards? Are people just kind of stuck on playing their Palkia decks, their Arceus Inteleons? Why is that?
I mean, I think Mewtwo probably is Reshiram 2.0. Like, I think it actually, like, maybe not quite as bad as Reshiram, but it's. I think it just kind of fits that. It falls in the Reshiram category. And then, yeah, I mean, the one prize decks are like cool. I think that's like for the Gyarados and the Lunatone. Those are just like decks that people enjoy playing. Like the Lunatone deck has gotten an absurd amount of hate on Twitter for
It
like
really
no
has,
reason.
For
Like,
no reason.
It's such
so
a fun
cringe.
deck to
Yeah.
play. It's super cheap, which is not a bad thing. It's just a ton of fun to play. Like, I really enjoy playing the deck. Andrew, you were mentioning how much you like it playing the deck. Like, the deck is just a ton. It's just so enjoyable, and because it's just so different than. And we haven't had like a one prize deck like this that has felt maybe just this competitive in a while. As far as something that's like not like an Inteleon Baby Moltres box deck, like something just a straight one prizers, just go go go. The Gyarados was a little bit more underwhelming than I thought it would be. But once again, it's still one of those decks that's like new, different one prizer. People like just playing those kind of decks. I think Charizard definitely is just a ton of untapped potential. I would not be surprised, like, if not before Worlds, after Worlds, it's going to be, in the top 4 most played decks, some kind of Charizard, like straight Charizard deck or Charizard index. Like that card's too good. I think just people haven't figured it out yet. So, but we're kind of waiting on that one to just kind of be unlocked. And then, yeah, I guess the Mewtwo just kind of is not great. And then we're starting to see Blastoise finally make the rounds in Urshifu decks. People are like going, big Yogaloo Metagame plays. I know Jake Gearhart's a huge fan of the Blastoise with the Rapid Strike Urshifu. So they've been putting a ton of time into that. We've been seeing more and more people kind of pick up on that as well. The Blastoise actually. And I think there's like a lot more room with Blastoise plus Metagame just seems like a crazy combo. So what do you think, Andrew? Where do you think the Pokemon Go cards will impact the meta from here, moving forward?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing out of the Pokemon Go set is the single prizers. The Lunatone Solrock, the Charizard, and the Pokestop Stadium. The ability to the strength that's being added to these single prize decks and the single prize archetypes. I mean, we saw the Regigigas box deck was okay. I think it was a little bit too gimmicky for my tastes, a little bit too inconsistent. There were things that just constantly went wrong when piloting that deck. I felt the same way about the Rapid Strike Malamar deck. I loathed that deck. It was just another Inteleon deck at the end of the day, which, I at this point am quite tired of the Inteleon engine. I think it's played out, bro. Like, I'm so sick of it.
Well, we're not losing it anytime soon, so buckle
yeah,
in.
Man. Which is one of the reasons I'm so thrilled to just be able to play a deck that's refreshing and different, like the Lunatone Solrock deck. And your resource management in that deck is important. Each of your scoop up nets is kind of like it's like a plus power, feels like an electro power or, power tablet or something like that, as, each of them can be used to, to boost your damage output. Similar to the Regigigas deck. I mean, your scoop up nets are like a very valuable resource in that deck too. So it's fun to just experience the game in a different kind of way. As far as the metagame goes, how much is the Pokemon Go set going to impact the metagame for the World Championships? Arceus and Palkia are just broken, dude. They're like some of the most broken cards that have ever been printed in the Pokemon TCG. They're consistent, powerful. They can destroy a board position on the second turn of the game going first. Like, yeah. With Arceus, you can literally play it however you want. And I agree with Chip. You might start to see, Radiant Charizard in an Arceus deck. What kind of Radiant Pokemon were Arceus decks using up until this point? Like none, right?
Yeah, right.
So so like, how about a 1 energy attacker with 150 hit points or something? That for the last 2 prizes of the game can 1-hit KO any V-Star. Pretty good. Yeah. So I think that's. I think that card certainly has untapped potential and is something that we'll see pop up most definitely. And then the Lunatone Solrock deck, is it like a tournament viable deck? Is it a tournament winning deck? I don't even care to pick it apart like that. I just like it so much. So whatever, dude. It's good enough. It's good enough to play. It's good enough to do okay sometimes. You said it's gotten some top 8s. Yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's the best single prize deck out right now, and I don't think it's close. So
all right. Yeah, so Palkia and Arceus still been super dominant. And then I guess like the other deck that has stuck around to be I think we got a little bit of an echo going through your through your mic now, Andrew.
I think we're good.
Oh, is it good?
Yeah,
okay, I thought I heard a little bit echo.
Yep.
All right. So Palkia and Arceus still the most dominant decks for sure, it seems like. And then it seems like Mew is finally not completely disappeared, but he's like not there as much anymore. And we've got Mewtwo v Union is like maybe the other deck that is like, I feel like comparing to like NAIC, like the other deck that is kind of stuck around more so than pretty much anything else. But what is like the third deck then, you think? Like if Arceus, let's just call it variants because there's so much. I mean, Arceus Inteleon's the most popular, and then probably Arceus B-Barrel's second most popular. But there's so much of stuff under that. So Arceus variants, Palkia, Inteleon, because we haven't seen the turbo version really make a comeback in a little while. So like is Mew still the third most popular deck, do you guys think? Or do you think that there's something else that can fill that slot? Or is it kind of like a rotating door depending on what else is popular in the meta?
just as far as numbers go, Mew is still the most played deck from this format. I think like as if we look at the if we're looking at the format as a whole, it's Mew. But if we look at maybe the past 3 weeks of the format, it would be
Yeah.
Palkia. I still think like as far as numbers go, Mew is very heavily played, and it is still doing fine. But it's kind of wild to look at how powerful that deck was for the past 6 months, and then see, I mean, just maybe a testament to the strength of Palkia and Arceus, like Andrew was saying, that it has been able to be pushed out by 2 prize Pokemon, right?
Yeah, I think the this past year has been kind of insane to experience from a card design standpoint. You've got Mew VMAX, the most dominant archetype like ever, released almost a year ago. And then Arceus V Star, one of the most dominant cards ever printed, coming right after that. You can pair it with anything. And then Palkia V Star coming out, which is like, maybe even stronger or on the same power level as Arceus. It's just like they keep upping the ante, and where does it go? We've seen that, there's this Drapion card that can just instantly decimate a Mew for like,
Yeah.
what, 1 energy or something, or like 0
Yeah.
energy or something.
Zero energies.
Literally 0 energy, even if an Oricorio is in play. Like, the card design has been wild to see. It certainly seems like they're trying to, just continually print the new best deck every time they release a set. And yeah, it's been something.
Yeah, the Drapion almost feels like it's like a safety net for next format for like after Worlds. It's like, okay, we wanted Mew to be good from here to here, and now we're adding Drapion, so Mew is not good. It's almost like this is when we want Mew to be good, and now we don't want Mew to be good, so we release the Drapion V is what it feels like a little bit. Because
Right.
it's not coming out until after Worlds, right? That comes out in the set after Worlds. So
Yeah, it won't be legal.
oh yeah,
for
we don't have a
Worlds.
set for Worlds. Yeah, so
Right.
does it come out in the next set or the set after the next set? I don't even know.
I mean, we don't know exactly because stuff gets a little wonky with
Yeah.
our English sets compared, because Japan has like our English sets are like a combination of 3 to 4 Japanese sets usually.
Yeah.
So it would probably be in Lost Origin, our next set, but we don't know for sure, because that's already going to be crammed full of all the the Giratina stuff that we talked about last week, and all that. So we don't really exactly know. But speaking of kind of Japan and their card releases and their card reveals, they did another card reveal of a reprint card. We talked about this a few months ago whenever it happened. They posted that there was going to be a new reprint card, got everyone talking about it, got everyone excited. Last time it was an item card, and then the reveal came out and happened, and the reprint was Energy Lotto, which is a fine card, but probably not worth its own YouTube video. It's probably just worth, seeing it pop up on the website. But they made a big thing out of it. It's like, this card's coming back. And so once again, just this past week, they did the same thing. Japan said that there was going to be a new reprint supporter card this time coming back into the game for the first time. People started speculating. People were like, oh, it's going to be Delinquent reprint. That was a popular one I saw getting thrown around because there was like an Amoonguss that came out that had to do with getting discarded from the hand, right? And so people were like, oh, this makes sense. And then other people were like, oh, give us Cynthia back. Give us In back. That's kind of always the popular one. Everyone wants In to come back. And the card was announced, it was revealed, and the reveal was Lady, which was a supporter card that I don't think was ever actually played in a competitive deck. Not that I can ever remember. It just searches your deck for 4 energy cards. It's not the worst effect on a supporter. It is like a pretty unique effect, but it's just never been the type of thing that's ever worth using your 1 supporter for turn 4. So what's going on?
Explicitly, it's better than than Silent and Clement.
Yes, these other cards that fetch
Explicitly an
energies from your
upgrade on
deck,
those.
yeah.
And you know what? I did play Silent to some success back in the day in early Blastoise Keldeo EX decks. Yeah. When they had Black Kyurem EX in it. Yeah, I mean, we used to play Silent in that deck. You could use Jirachi EX, Stellar Guidance, go get Silent, and then there's your black Kyurem right there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm reaching right now, and that's the only time that's the only time I've ever used a card like that.
Yeah, I mean, and so
Is
it's like it's like a fine effect on a supporter. It's like it could pop up and be like I wouldn't be surprised if at some point someone found a use for this as a one of, especially you're talking about Jirachi X. We do have Luminion in the format, so it's easy enough to find the one of for a key time. I don't really see the use for it right now, but I think kind of just the whole point is like, why are we hyping this up? Why is this worth making a YouTube video for, getting people talking about, if we're just gonna give us like this would be cool, and then the reveal was like Colress or just some
yeah.
like really good card that would get everyone super hype. It feels kind of silly to do all this like excited look forward to this reprint, and then it's just a tier 7 like supporter card, right?
Yeah, I don't know and I guess maybe they came up. This is the second time that they've ever only done something like this, right? It was like Energy Lotto and then this, right? They've never done this
Yes.
before. So I guess they just like had the idea of doing this, but then they didn't have, like, I'm sure they would have loved to have paired this with Boss's Orders, right? But they were like, we don't have any good cards we're reprinting right now. They could have done it with Rare Candy though, right?
Yeah, they could have done it with Rare Candy, but honestly, I'd almost argue that like we're more likely to see Lady be played in a deck than Rare Candy right now.
Holy smokes, dude.
I mean, the people
He's
have been playing
not
it in their
wrong.
Pokemon.
He's
So
not
yeah,
wrong, bro.
I think they just had the idea of this, and it's like a good idea. The reveal videos are it's a
Yes.
super good idea. I actually I wish, and it's really hard to do because the cards come out in Japan. But I don't know if either of you follow Hearthstone at all. But they give content creators cards to reveal in Hearthstone, so that'd be like something super cool. Of course, you'd have to like link up the content creators, with the players in Japan. But there's like Japanese content creators that could even be the ones doing it. If they don't reach out to the ones in outside of Japan, that would even be fine.
Mhm.
I think like Shintaro and stuff makes content. So like if Shintaro on their YouTube channel was like releasing, leaking a new Pokemon card coming out, that'd be super sick. That's what they do in Hearthstone. They give content creators cards to leak. That's the first time people see the cards is through the content creators. So, but so like something like this is still a good idea. But yeah, I guess like they had the idea and they just didn't want to wait until they were actually reprinting cool cards
Something
or
cool,
good
yeah.
cards, and they were just like, we really like this idea. We really want to make these videos and leak that like our cards being reprinted. It's like, what do we got? We got Energy Lotto. What else we got? We got Lady. It's like, but the idea is so good, I want to do it. Like they just want to do it, so then they just like pushed it out, instead of waiting until they actually had the good cool cards being reprinted.
It's interesting because it's like, yeah, it feels like a sketch of an idea. It's like an idea they have, and they're like kind of testing the waters to see, how the execution works. But it's such a terrible idea to try this with bad cards, because then
Yeah.
you're going to create this kind of like this expectation that it's always going to be a flop or something, or with the community, or the community being like, why are you doing this?
But maybe
Yeah.
they're just kind of like stringing us along a little bit and lulling us into a sense of like, this card is, it's not going to be anything to worry about. And then the next time they do one, it's going to be Versus Seeker or like Trainer's Mail, like some big time, like super playable card. Maybe. And it's kind of like to what you were saying, Azul, like something they've had planned. And it's like, this is just the cards that have fallen thus far, but it's going to be really cool if they do this. What's going to be annoying is if they do reprint a super powerful card and then they don't hype it up in any way, shape, or form. It's just like, it comes out on the website. Oh yeah, we're reprinting Versus Seeker, by the way.
Yeah, they definitely should like use this more in the future, and hopefully, I mean, they will reprint really powerful cards at some point in the future. It has to come around to that. There's
They
only so
always do,
many
yeah.
good enough ideas you can have in the card game, right, to come up with each format, each set. So, yeah, hopefully they keep doing it and don't, because like the amount of people that I saw being like, no, it's just going to be a bad card for the lady one after the Energy Lotto was pretty high. Actually, a lot of people were just like, nope, it's going to be bad. They're just
And
baiting
then
us.
they were
like,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they were right.
My guess was Psychic's Third Eye. That's what I thought it was going to be. Yeah. I mean, that's just kind of, everyone kind of knew what to expect for this one. And so we'll see what happens in the future with this kind of method. But I think it is time.
They don't stop doing it.
Yeah. I think it's time for us to move on now to the beef, the meat of this episode, and that is Gym Leader Challenge. A format that Azul and I have both had a ton of fun playing. We've both played in tournaments in this format. It's a blast. It's kind of become one of my favorite ways to play the Pokemon trading card game. And Andrew, of course, is the creator, the starter of the Gym Leader Challenge format. So, just to kick us off, Andrew, why don't you just introduce the format to someone like, any of our listeners who have no idea what we're talking about? What is GLC? What is Gym Leader Challenge? Where did this idea come from? And what does a GLC deck look like?
Yeah. Gym Leader Challenge is a fan-made format. I mean, it was created by me and has been promoted through my channel Tricky Gym for the last year now. And the closest point of comparison is Commander format with Magic the Gathering, which was also a fan-made format. I believe Commander was created by some judges, right? This was just a way that they liked to play the game, and it spread. And now it's officially endorsed by Wizards of the Coast, and they create products for it and all of that. So, similar to Commander format, Gym Leader Challenge is a singleton format. So, you can only play one of each card with the same name, except for basic energy in your deck. And you can use any card from black and white through the most recent set. So, any card basically since 2011. At this point, we're working with over 10 years of cards. Now, the format's called Gym Leader Challenge format. So, like a gym leader, when you're building your deck, you're going to pick your favorite type of Pokemon or whatever type of Pokemon you're feeling inspired to create a deck around, whether it's darkness Pokemon, fire type Pokemon, lightning Pokemon, water Pokemon. And you can only use that type of Pokemon in your deck, like a gym leader might, right? When you go and you battle, Misty, Misty's got all water Pokemon. When you go and you battle Brock, Brock's got all, rock Pokemon or whatever, that kind of idea. And then the final rule is that there are no rule box Pokemon allowed in your deck. So no Pokemon V, no Pokemon V Star, no Pokemon Prism, Radiant Pokemon, any Pokemon that has a rule box on it is not legal for play. And what this does is it really evens the playing field. We were joking earlier. I mean, yeah, Chip, you said you're more likely to see Lady in a deck than Rare Candy. And what that does is it makes it so that Gym Leader Challenge is a distinctly different pace and a different format than standard or expanded, because there is lots of evolving going on. And you might see a board position with 2 different stage 2s in it, a couple of stage 1s, and a couple of basics. Really diversifies the different types of Pokemon you have in play. There are stage 2 attackers. There are stage 1 support Pokemon. There are stage 1 attackers. There are stage 2 support Pokemon. There are basic attackers, basic support Pokemon. There's like the whole, basically the whole gamut. Any kind of Pokemon that has been released in the last 10 years, you might see in a Gym Leader Challenge deck. The limitations are what make the format fun. It feels in some ways like you were playing a cube deck or a deck that you may have drafted from a pool of cards with some friends to play. But the difference is that you get to completely curate your deck out of any of the legal cards over the course of the last 10 years. And what players are finding is that they get to play a lot of cards that they might not get to play or utilize in standard format or expanded format. A lot of players get to use some of their favorite cards or pick their favorite type. And each type in Gym Leader Challenge format really has its own personality. The metal decks are very tanky and the Pokemon are difficult to knock out. The lightning decks are really low to the ground, not a lot of hit points, but they can attack quickly and powerfully. And the water decks are, a lot to set up, but once you start raining that energy into play, your Pokemon can do a ton of damage. So each deck kind of has its own flavor, and a lot of players really connect with that and get into their deck. Now, how the format came to be, basically, about a year ago, we were in the middle of the summer, and we were in the middle of the pandemic, and we were in the middle of Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia GX dominated format, right? So it was kind of like the perfect storm of like a pretty bad format with no world championships or regional championships or anything like that to look forward to. There were Players' Cups happening. which Azul won. But like outside of that, I was like not even amped up for the Players Cups. I played Whimsicott GX for day 2, or for like, I qualified for that Players Cup in the ADP format, the one that Azul won. I was pretty sure it's the one that Azul won. I played Whimsicott GX, Porygon Z, for that because I was just like goofing around. I didn't really care, right? I was just trying to have fun, and was having a hard time staying motivated and having fun with the state of the game and the power creep and the pace of the game, and was kind of pulling my hair out just trying to find stuff to do because I stream every weekday, right? We're streaming for 5 to 6 hours, 5 days a week. If I'm not loving standard format, that's going to become very evident, right? I feel like there was only so much standard format to play during those times, right? It was like your ADP, your Lucario Melmetal, and then like, Urshifu came
Pikarom.
out, and Pikarom, Urshifu. It's just like I was kind of over it. The format I had definitely felt like I'd played out. So we were looking for something fun to do. And during those Players Cups, I actually commentated one of the Players Cups. I believe it was Players Cup 3 or 4. I don't know. I commentated one of them. And during the commentating, the Pokemon Company, had the casters do these kind of like, caster duels or whatever, right? Where they would record us playing funny format games against each other. And one of the matches that I commentated over was a caster duel taking place in a gym leader format, right? That they had kind of just made up. And it was expanded formats, but you could only play one type of Pokemon in your deck, right? So both of the casters, independently of one another, built Dragapult VMAX Garbodor decks.
Yeah, that was me and Ethan, right?
It was you and Ethan. Yeah, it was
Yes.
literally you and Ethan, right?
Yeah.
And you both played Dragapult VMAX with Garbodor, because it was broken. You could play Tapu Lele, you could play all these good psychic Pokemon in your deck. And like, yeah, it was like a cheeky idea. Is it like a real format that has like depth? No, because it, some of the card combinations were just too strong. So after commentating over that, I was like, maybe making some sort of modified limited Pokemon format could be fun. I really wanted to try out a no VMAX, no V format, no GX, a single prize format. And then, Magic the Gathering's Commander format, it's a singleton format. So I was like, what if we took, a single prize format, made it singleton, and put the gym leader rule on it? Would that be enough limitations, on your deck to make playing Pokemon fun again? Basically, was like the question that I had, because I was not having fun playing standard. I just probably for a long time at that point was not having a great time. Every once in a while I'd find a silly deck that I clicked with, and it'd be funny to make the video, but I was running out of steam for sure. So I posed the question to my Discord about a year ago, anybody want to play a game against me using my funny made up format, and I got some games in with some members of the Discord, and I had a lot of fun. Just the first night, had a great time, and the decks were terrible, but like creativity was flowing, and a lot of the games came down to the wire, were really close. So the next day on stream, I posed the question, instead of just to the Discord, to the whole, Twitch chat, and was like, anybody want to, make a deck? This is something that I'm trying. I don't know if it's going to work or not. But, let's just see where this goes. And basically that stream was a way for everybody to kind of witness this different way of playing Pokemon cards. And we had some incredible games. Games that were so close and so thought-provoking, the likes of which we hadn't seen in standard, for a long time, right? Because standard is just ADP, Mawile GX, bring that thing down. I'm gonna knock it out, take 3 prizes, right? Like that kind of, bosses or that kind of thing, right? So like the pace of the game was so refreshing, right? That you would have a couple turns to set up your strategy. And the one thing that I say about Gym Leader Challenge, and part of what makes it from like a game theory standpoint, is that Gym Leader Challenge, it is more fun to lose a game in Gym Leader Challenge than it is to lose a game in Standard, because you have more chance to execute your strategy and there's more chances for comeback. So, when you lose a game in Gym Leader Challenge, more often than not, you could say good game and you probably genuinely mean it, right? It was like a good game and you're like you're wanting to come back and play again. You have that spark, right? That spark to want to come back and play again because it was a good game, even if you lost, and you're already thinking about, the possibilities for being able to maybe alter your deck, change a card or two, and go forward and tackle that next game. So it's been going now for a year. It's come a long way, and it's crazy. We released a video on the format, I think, the day after that stream. So Gym Leader Challenge was created in like 3 days.
Yeah, and that video was released, I looked before we started recording, July 15th of 2021. So yeah, right at a year now this week
Yep.
of the format. And it has been quite a journey, right, for the format. Over the past year, it started from something you did with your community, and then it grew into people hosting online tournaments with it. You started hosting tournaments with it alongside the Full Grip Games 1Ks that were popping up with every set release. Now it's started to be played all over the world. I know you've told me about, posts and messages you get from people playing it in Europe, in South America, in Japan, even just all over the world. And now even we've seen it as side events at major Pokemon tournaments, the last couple of regional championships and the North American International Championships. There were multiple side events for Gym Leader Challenge, most of them getting close to 100 players in the pool for each of them, right?
And
Yeah,
EUIC as well, right? There was
Yeah, at
there was one
EUIC as well, yeah.
Yes, there were side events at the European International Championships. There was side events at the regional championships at Indianapolis. The side event had over 90 players. At the North American International Championships, I think both flights on Saturday had over 100 players. So,
Yeah.
I mean the
There's two tournament
enthusiasm's been insane. What's
over
up?
100 players at what's it called? NAIC?
Yeah,
2
I know
flights?
you
Is
were
that what you
busy
said?
winning, but yeah, there were over 100 players in each of Saturday's flights. Yeah,
Oh wow. All right. That is pretty impressive actually. Yeah. So yeah, it's grown a ton. And I guess one question I want to ask you is not like what you want from the format, but where do you think it can go? Where do you? I guess I don't know what I want to say. How big do you think GLC can get? We're at this point now. It's being recognized as a format that organizers are bringing to their side events and even at the ICs as well, which I think is a bigger step past the regional, right? That the fact that they're being and you're getting a lot of players in them, and it seems like it's only going to grow from here. But where do you? How big do you want? How big do you think it can get? And what would be your dream goal for it?
it's a really interesting question because in one sense, I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow. How big can it get? Well, how big is Magic the Gathering's Commander format compared to their standard or modern formats?
I don't know. I think it's pretty big. I know a lot of people play it.
I think isn't it bigger? Isn't it more popular
Is
than
it the
their
one?
standard format?
It's the most popular way to play
Most
Magic
popular?
the Gathering.
Yeah.
It's the most
Okay.
popular by far, actually. So yeah, so your Magic the Gathering standard and modern formats are for your it's for the sweaty tournament grinders, but then everybody else plays Commander, right? And there's a lot of, they call it kitchen table Magic, right? I mean, that's where Magic lives and breathes and exists, right? Is on the kitchen table. And that kitchen table experience is largely a Commander experience. So it is it's by far the most popular way to play Magic, and I think that is the potential for Gym Leader Challenge. Gym Leader Challenge could be the most popular way to play Pokemon cards. I think that if we look at standard and expanded format, those are the two supported formats in the Pokemon TCG, right?
Mhm.
Oh, what's up with the expanded right now?
Who
What do you guys
knows?
think? I'm going to pose a question to you guys. The interviewer is now the interviewee. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of expanded format?
I
I
mean, I've
think that
extensively. Oh, go ahead, Chip. Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say, I think that if the plan is for expanded to return for regionals this coming season, I think it definitely needs a look at as far as the legal cards for the format right now, because there's a lot of that after this new set with the Dialga V Star, and people were playing in the expanded events with their Electro GX Dialga V Star Garchomp Tina deck and just winning the game on turn 2. Like that just should never happen. And maybe if expanded tournaments were happening, they would address it a little more quickly. The fact that they haven't, I don't know, it makes me wonder what their plans are.
Yeah, I mean, I've hated expanded for a while now.
Me too, man.
Even like when it was still like being played at regionals, I was like, this is just like so dumb.
Yeah. I
And
mean, I know. Yeah, for sure.
I
I
would
know. I
say
mean,
like,
yeah,
oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead, go ahead.
Azul. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. So I mean, they would need to ban a lot for me to even consider wanting to play in an expanded regional. But even then, like, if I could get the opportunity to just like cast every expanded regional next season and then play in all the standard ones, that would be like the dream for me. Would be to like not play in any of the expanded regionals. If they needed extra caster to come to some of the expanded regionals and cast, I would love the opportunity, and then just like play in all the standard regionals next season and ICs. So I think it's cool to have two formats. Like I think that it adds depth, but only to the point where it's actually competitive and accessible to enough like the general player base.
Right. So I think that expanded format is kind of like a lost format in my mind. I feel like the card design just no longer the modern card design no longer makes sense with an expanded card pool. It did for a while. I would argue that expanded kind of was at its prime at some point during the Sun and Moon era, probably
Early Sun
before
and
tag
Moon,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah, before tag teams came out, I'd
Mhm.
say like expanded format was kind of like, maybe starting to reach a point where it was a little bit too broken, right around 2018, but was still fun. And then there was obviously all the degenerate control stuff, which was like, kind of running expanded for a while. I liked that expanded format rewarded the deck builders and rewarded people who had experience with the card pool.
Mhm.
I felt that in the 2020 season before COVID. Me and my buddies built the Rowlet and Alolan Executor deck. Was able to finish top 16 at that Richmond Regional Championships with that surprise deck. JW won. Michael Zealy got top 8. Brady got top 32. So we were able to just build a secret rogue deck and just plop it on an unsuspecting field, right? Because there just wasn't a lot of information out there for expanded format. There wasn't a lot of, people don't play it as much as standard. So you could just make a call and just run it, if you made the right call. And then at Collinsville, I think we saw that was the last expanded regional to occur. I think it might be the last expanded regional to ever happen. If I'm making my prediction, I think it'll be the last expanded regional ever. And it was a bunch of degenerate hand lock decks. I mean, what Justin Bakari won with the Trev and Dustnor, the melodic to blow itself up. You eliminate your opponent's hand. There was a bunch of doll stall decks. I know because I lost to one in top
Azul
8.
played it as well at that tournament, right, Azul?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was the only proper attacking deck, in top 8 of that regional championship with my Snorlax VMAX deck, which could do 300 damage on the second turn of the game. And, it was just in my top 8 match. I was dead drawing game 3. I was very confident that I was going to be able to win, but I was dead drawing game 3. And, time was going to be called in like 5 minutes, but I was dead drawing. And by the time that I actually got an attacker going in game 3, my opponent was able to establish a board where they AZ'd up all of their prize giving Pokemon and had a board with 4 dolls. So it's like a game goes to time and there's no way to take a prize. There was nothing in their discard pile. There was no way I could do anything. So you know what I mean? It's just like, so we're sitting there. Obviously it went way past, turn 3 of time, but that's just how degenerate it was, right? I mean, there just was so Yeah, it's I think it's just a format that doesn't make sense with the card design anymore. All the Pokemon that are being printed now are the most broken Pokemon to ever exist. Do the V Stars compete adequately with Pokemon EX? No, it's not even close, you know? And I think that so you just have all the most broken items with all the most broken new Pokemon, and the resulting format's not a great one in my mind. So, with that being said, the reason why I was going down that rabbit hole is because I think that it's really important to have multiple ways to enjoy the Pokemon trading card game. Even if I'm not in love with the way that Standard is going right now, Standard is what Standard is, and it's fine. I think it's a fine format. Is it my favorite way to play Pokemon cards? No, it's not. It's not in my top 3 favorite ways to play Pokemon cards. Probably like my fourth or fifth, but it's fine. It's still a way to enjoy the game, and that's cool. I prefer more limited formats. I've always loved cube drafting. I've always loved drafting. That's one thing that it's the only reason I play Magic the Gathering is so I could go draft, right? I learned how to play Magic so that I could draft with buddies because drafting is fun. Creating a deck on the fly, playing like that. Drafting is not as, accessible in the Pokemon TCG as it is in Magic the Gathering because the way the game design is, just with the evolution rules and stuff, drafting doesn't make as much sense. So
We've got
you
the
have to find,
the like build and battle kits. That would be like the closest thing, and
yeah.
those come with a 40 card deck in them now. So
Which, and if you end up, opening those packs, you end up usually just playing the 40 card deck.
it's like you open up if you get like a ultra rare, you like put the ultra rare with the constructed deck, right? And
Yeah.
that's it.
Right. And it's not great, the limited formats that have been produced by the Pokemon Company. They're fine, they're serviceable, but like it's just there's not too much you can do with it. So, and then cubes are obviously a ton of fun, but like the most inaccessible way to play the Pokemon
Definitely.
TCG. You got to have 8 people together in a room. You got to have a ton of time, to devote to it. You got to have a collection of cards that in some ways, depending on the cube, you could have a really cheap cube, but some cubes run up, $1,000, $2,000, right? Depending on the size of the cube and the rarity of the cards included. So cubing, fun, very inaccessible. It's never going to be the most popular way to play the Pokemon TCG. So Gym Leader Challenge for me is a way for players to experience that kind of limited deck building, that limited, deck design and gameplay aspect that you might get from a cube experience. But it's a way for everybody to be able to experience that, and for 2 people to be able to have, a fun limited game, who may have never met, but so long as they both understand the rules of Gym Leader Challenge, they can both build their own decks and then enjoy that game and the complex strategies that come with a limited card pool, with a large window of legality, but like limitations on deck building that make, the games really nuanced and interesting and fun. So in my mind, Gym Leader Challenge is really important. I feel like, the game really needed another format with expanded I feel like a lot of players feel the same way we do. I feel like the Pokemon Company feels the same way we do about expanded format because they have kind of let it go, right? So they obviously don't care too much about it. So I feel like Gym Leader Challenge is kind of like that necessary thing. So what do we want out of Gym Leader Challenge? It's a tough question. Do I think there ought to be Gym Leader Challenge regional championships? I don't think that there needs to be. I think that it's just a great way to play. I'm almost concerned that if Pokemon, were to make Gym Leader Challenge regionals or whatever, that it would, yeah, it would ruin the casual fun aspect of Gym Leader Challenge, which is like one of my favorite parts about it, or that it would bring too much toxicity to the format where people are like, oh, that card's unplayable. No, you can't play that card. It's not tier 1. Don't even put that card in your deck. Like that kind of attitude. I don't want that, like, in Gym Leader Challenge, right? Because I want Gym Leader Challenge to be more casual, accessible. Why? Because as a content creator, my mission is to help grow the game. And whereas standard can be kind of cutthroat and toxic at times, very high velocity, turn 2 knockouts, take a third of my prize cards, checkmated you on turn 2 or 3. Gym Leader Challenge is, I feel like the pace is different. It's more accessible for a newer player. And I feel like it's important to keep it that way so that there are there's a different variety of I guess, of formats, in the
Okay.
Pokemon TCG.
All right. I got like another question to go with that then. As far as like the longevity of like Gym Leader Challenge goes, GLC goes, like obviously you want it to be around for a while. And the goal would be for Pokemon to officially release products
Yes.
that, have some of the older cards. But then does rotation ever become a question for GLC? That's something I think that if they want to keep around expanded, they might have to like rotate expanded up to Sword and Shield on and kind of restart over with a better mindset and a better idea of how they need to tackle expanded. Like for them to make expanded work again, I think they'd have to rotate up to like Sword and Shield on maybe like a season from now. And there'd be like 8 sets in expanded, kind of go back to like what expanded used to be kind of in that sense. But for GLC then, like, is there like not a fear, but have you ever thought about like, maybe we need to eventually rotate GLC up, a block or something to like be able to keep up with accessibility of the cards?
Nah, never rotate it.
Nah.
Black and white on. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it ever needs to be rotated because I think one of the charming things about the format is that you're going to be using, maybe you use a Dynamo that's 10 years old in your deck. You don't have to use a 10-year-old Dynamo in your deck. You can use a Dynamo that was printed this year, and it would have a negligible, very small, difference on your gameplay. So the difference between, this card and this card, might be a handful of dollars, but, if you're casual, then you're not going to be spending the extra money to get the old card. Now, obviously, accessibility is an issue. We've seen this with Gym Leader Challenge already because you're starting to see some like uncommon cards, become $30 cards, which is for me that I know some players see that and they're like, oh, they dread it, right? They're like, man, they're ruining a good thing, right? For me, it's exciting. It's just exciting because it means people care, right? And as a content creator who's creating their own format and trying to instill the love of the game and the love of custom formats in a community, to see prices reflect that, on some cards, I think it's like there's maybe 5 cards that have like really spiked as a result of Gym Leader Challenge. To see that means that people care enough to spend $50 on a Roserade, right? Or people care enough to spend $30 on a Musharna, or people care enough to spend $30 on a Gabite that might be 8 to 10 years old or something. And you can't buy that. You can't just like pay your way into getting the community to care about something. No amount of money can do that. The Pokemon Company International has not created a single prize custom format that people care about. They've tried their hand at various alternate formats, over the course of the time that Pokemon cards have been around. But this is organic. It's happening naturally. And to me, that's exciting. It's the most exciting thing that could be occurring. Gym Leader Challenge and its reception by the community, to me, is bigger than any tournament success that I've had. It's bigger than any content creation success that I've had. It's the biggest, I think, success of my career is being able to promote and share this format with the Pokemon community and have them really love it. And now that it's kind of out there, it's just growing on its own. And I just want to kind of like fade into the background and just let it take on a life of its own. And I take a lot of pride in that it's just like, I don't even have to promote it really anymore because it just promotes itself now, which is thrilling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely cool whenever something that you had a hand in getting started has become bigger than you. And that's really what it has become, right? Whenever we have people, players in Japan sending you messages like, "Hey, we're playing this format." Like, these are not people who are watching your YouTube videos, who are
No.
watching your streams and playing with you on stream and stuff. They are people who have just heard of it and realized this is a fun way to play Pokemon. And like local stores across the country and stuff, I've heard people talking about organizing GLC events and all this stuff. Obviously, Full Grip Games has hosted multiple actual tournaments with pretty sizable prize pools in them for the Gym Leader Challenge format. Yeah, it's definitely a testament to how fun of a way it is to play Pokemon cards. So, if someone is watching this and they think this all sounds good and fun, and they're like, "All right, I'm in. Gym Leader Challenge sounds fun." Where do they go? How do they get started? How does someone start to build a GLC deck? Because, we talked about this a little bit, there's like a competitive nature to it, but it is at its core a casual format, right? So, it shouldn't, in theory, that's one of the draws of it, right? Is that it should be pretty easy for someone to assemble a Gym Leader Challenge deck.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. At the inception of Gym Leader Challenge, one of my big, advertising points was that a Gym Leader Challenge deck will cost you less than an Elite Trainer box. That's insane, right? You could build a good Gym Leader Challenge deck for less than one of those boxes that, a lot of people buy.
Right.
So the fact that you could have a playable deck, and what's different about Gym Leader Challenge than standard format is that you could build a standard format deck and then, you sink a couple $100 into it. You're really proud of it. And then you tune into Tricky Gym or Azul GG, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that deck is trash, bro. No more. Yeah, that deck is like 2 months old now. Nobody plays that card anymore, right?" Matt, like Jolteon VMAX people,
Yeah,
Dragon
right.
Ball VMAX, people who like bought into these kind of people who bought into Shadow Rider, and then Shadow Rider just got terrible, right? Yeah. So like, people who bought into like Leafeon VMAX during Evolving Skies were like, "Yeah, I love Leafeon VMAX," and then next set comes out, your Leafeon deck's bad now. That kind of thing doesn't happen in Gym Leader Challenge, right? Because the format evolves slower. Because when a new set comes out, say there's a really good card in that set for your Gym Leader Challenge deck, that is one card out of 60, right? So the format evolves more slowly than standard format does, and the meta changes more slowly. So you could build a Gym Leader Challenge deck today, and then you could put it in a closet and bring it back out a year from now, and you would still have a good game played against somebody's Gym Leader Challenge deck from 2023. I could almost guarantee you that, because the power levels are going to be more steady. The power creep in the Pokemon TCG hasn't infected the single prizers as much as it has the multi-prize Pokemon. So getting started in Gym Leader Challenge, you're going to want to head over to gymleaderchallenge.com. It's a website that I created. It's got all of the official Gym Leader Challenge rules and starting guides. So say you're like, relatively new to the Pokemon TCG, started in Sword and Shield, or, a modern set, and you're like, "Wow, okay, 10 years worth of cards. How can I possibly wrap my mind around that?" Well, there's guides on each type. So say all you have to do is like, say I'm interested in fire Pokemon. Cool. There's a guide on all the best fire Pokemon or all the most popular fire Pokemon, along with example lists, all on gymleaderchallenge.com. You can read up on the different kinds of strategies, powerful supporter cards, item cards that a fire type deck might utilize. And then there's the same thing for grass and water and lightning, right? So gymleaderchallenge.com is the place to go to start to get your feet wet with GLC format. Then the Tricky Gym Discord, discord.gg/trickygym, is kind of the main hub for Gym Leader Challenge format, where players can find other players to play against online, specifically using the Pokemon trading card game online, because there is no ladder for the format, right? So how does the format live online? You can either play in a limitless tournament, which have been successful. Usually they get, 30-ish players, 20, 30 players or so. So yeah, that's a great way to play against other players because you're just going to be able to queue up using Limitless, or you could join the Tricky Gym Discord and you can always ask for a match in there. And the community there is really nice and really helpful. Also, the Gym Leader Challenge discussion threads in the Tricky Gym Discord, great place to just talk about the format, introduce yourself, say you're trying to, get into the format, ask questions and things like that. And the moderators and community are really helpful there as well. But that's kind of like where the format lives right now, gymleaderchallenge.com and in the Tricky Gym Discord, but it also just lives in like communities and pockets elsewhere all around the world that I have absolutely no control over. So there's like, leagues that are being hosted and stuff like that. So really you just get into it. You find some friends that are into it and you kind of just, I almost like, I feel like I don't want to have, too much control over it. I want it to just take on a life of its own. It's an idea. I feel like you can't own an idea. I don't own Gym Leader Challenge. I don't own the idea. I make the rules for it. I own gymleaderchallenge.com. That's like a tangible, I guess. But like, but I don't own the idea. So really, what Gym Leader Challenge is to me is it's just an idea that you and your buddies take and you go and you have a fantastic time having some drinks on a weekend night, whatever, playing some Gym Leader Challenge, having some good laughs. You might play a couple of best of threes, and then all of a sudden, you've been playing cards for 5 or 6 hours and it feels like, where did the time go? Right. So it's that kind of format where hopefully you're just having fun, enjoying, the games and all that with your friends. In my mind, that's the peak way to experience the format.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that maybe one of the goals for the format is once PTCG Live gets sorted to have an official ladder on PTCG Live so you can actually queue up Gym Leader Challenges games on PTCG Live?
Yes, that's
whenever
a goal,
whenever
sure.
that gets
But-
sorted out.
But not on live though, because the goal is for live to get canceled and then for
Some other game.
there to be a new client. So yes, the end goal.
There's 2 steps. And step 1,
Step
PTCG
1
Live
is that
channel. Step 2, new client with Gym Leader Challenge. Step 3,
Yes.
profit.
So yes, I do think that. So to answer your question more fully, Azul, yes, I think that I don't know that Gym Leader Challenge ever needs to be a regional format. I think that I think it would be sick to have like one regional a year in Gym Leader Challenge format. I think that'd be dope, right? But like, don't run it into the ground. Just you can let it exist as like this one kind of or a Gym Leader Challenge special event or something. I think that would be dope, right? Some sort of official tournament using the format. I think it'd be really cool to do it as like a one-off special event every year as like kind of like a celebration of the format. It also would help to promote the format officially through the Pokemon Company, which I think would be really big. So I think that would be my goal. Not the regional circuit, but a one-off, once a year special event promoted by the Pokemon Company, then an official ladder on their online game, so that players can enjoy the format without needing to go through these roundabout ways of finding a match. So yeah, and product to support the format so that cards getting old and inaccessible is no longer a problem, but something to be embraced because the Pokemon Company can like create Gym Leader Challenge decks. Oh, and then also the final goal would be for the Pokemon Company to officially acknowledge me as the kind of creator of the format and compensate me in some way. Yeah.
Get that bag
Smart.
somehow, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I want them to take control of it. I just do. I want them to have it, kind of. I mean, because I want them to adopt it officially. And like I said, I don't own an idea. It's Pokemon's game. They created the game, but like it'd be dope if they hook me up somehow.
Bought the website from you or something, right?
That's my idea, is that they keep the name Gym Leader Challenge and they buy gymleaderchallenge.com for me, because that way it's like it's a symbolic handing of the keys, right?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's necessarily out of the realm of possibility for something like that to happen. It would be amazing if it did. Products got it made for the format and all that. Like at all of the internationals and regionals that they had, these side events, there was little QR codes on all the tables where people could scan and enter a survey. They had this for all the side events, you know, because they have a bunch of silly formats. Like there's like a ditto format, a team format, and all this stuff that they do these side events for. But they ask on the survey, you know, what side event did you participate in? You know, click GLC, and then they would ask, like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much did you enjoy playing this format? And I would say probably pretty much everyone who did the survey probably put a 5. And then one of the other questions that they asked was, would you buy products designed for this format? And the fact that they're asking that question, you know, it's at least a thought in their mind that they could
Well,
feasibly do something like this, right?
you want to know one step cooler?
Are we getting an inside
The
scoop here?
Well, the guy who is the head of creating products at the Pokemon Company International was playing in the Gym Leader Challenge side event at NAIC and introduced himself to me. So that was very cool.
That's pretty sweet.
A good,
Yeah.
big step, right?
And I know
Yeah,
a lot of the
so-
people who are on the game design team that are all like pretty involved in the community, like Puka and Mia, Amelia, Kenny, all these people, they played GLC a decent amount, and I know they all have decks built for it.
Which is, I mean, that's the dream, right? So like people who are employed by the Pokemon Company International are, you know, getting familiar with the format. They're learning about the format. They're excited about the format. You know, I think leading up to NAIC, you know, they were chatting me up about the format, you know, through text and stuff, like getting texts from the game designers being like, yo, yeah, I've been thinking about my Gym Leader Challenge deck. Like that's happening, you know, that's just really exciting. It's really fun, you know? So it certainly, you know, the Pokemon Company is aware of Gym Leader Challenge. That's like, yes. What do they want to do with it? What are they going to do with it? What are their plans? How do they see this format continuing to grow? How do they want to incorporate it into what they're already doing? Oh yeah, just, you know, I mean, I don't know. They don't talk, bro. So
No,
like
they
we're
don't,
just
no.
gonna be here speculating, you know. But I can say that people who work for TPCI are playing and enjoying the format. That's from an outside perspective, which is where I'm at. That's what I can say, and that's what's happening, which is dope. I mean, that's like the format's only a year old, so there's only room to grow from here.
Well, hopefully we get to
Awesome.
see it grow a bit more. It has definitely been a blast to watch it thus far. I know I enjoyed a bunch. I know Azul has played plenty of it and enjoys it as well. So, yeah, thank you, Andrew, for the work you have put into this format, because it has really kind of become a life of its own, which is really, or it's gained a life of its own, which is really, really cool to see. So, if anyone listening wants to learn more about GLC, the Gym Leader Challenge format, definitely check out the website, gymleaderchallenge.com. There's a getting started guide. There's a guide to all the different types, lots to get caught up on. You should also check out Andrew's YouTube channel, youtube.com/trickygym, and then also the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/trickygym, because you play it at least once a week, right? Probably a couple times a week
Yeah.
over on the Twitch channel.
Yeah. You know, it varies. When a new set drops, everybody wants to see the standard decks.
Sure.
So usually we'll grind out the standard decks a little while, but then I'd say on average once a week, yeah, we do a Gym Leader Challenge stream where we just play GLC all day, which means that I'm just taking challenges from the viewers because there's no ladder, right? So that's just what we're doing. Like, hey, anybody got a deck and want to play? So
it's very cool. All right, well, we will move on from our GLC discussion. Thank you, Andrew, for your insight onto it and giving us a little bit of the background, the history of the format. And we'll move on to everyone's favorite segment of the show, which is Guess That Flavor Text, where this week we're going to have our guest, Andrew Mahone, guessing the flavor text. The way this works is we have picked a card, which we will read the fun little bit of text in the bottom right corner, the flavor text as it is called, and have our guest guess what the card is that we are reading from. And you do have 3 lifelines as well, Andrew. So we'll read the flavor text to you. If you just guess based off that, you get 4 points.
okay.
And for each lifeline you use, you lose a point. So you can use a lifeline of what set the card is from, what
Okay.
stage the card is, and then you can also have us read an attack name. So those are the
Okay.
3 different lifelines you have available to you. You can use all of them. You can use none of them, whatever you want to do. And if you're ready, Azul's got the card ready to read for you.
How many guesses? Just one guess, right?
One single
Yeah,
guess.
one guess.
Right. Okay. And each of you have 2 points.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, 17 weeks
And how
in,
many
yes.
episodes have you done?
17.
All right, cool.
All right, you ready?
Someone told me that this week, you know, I knew someone messaged me and was like, Chip, I knew Azul didn't know that much about like the lore of Pokemon outside of like playing cards and stuff, but I expected better from you. And to be honest, it is disappointing. I will do better. I'm sorry.
Listen, man. Nah, it's cool, bro. I mean, like, you know what you know. You know the stuff that maybe you were connected with as a child or whatever. But like outside of that, like
I've missed some
I
pretty
ain't no
obvious
professor,
ones,
bro.
to be fair.
I
but-
ain't a professor, man. Listen, the professors know everything. Okay, I'm not a I don't have a lab coat, bro. Like that's not me. You know. So
All right, Azul,
All right, you ready?
hit us with it.
All right. A tale is told of a town that angered blank. Before the sun rose the next day, flames utterly consumed the town, leaving not a trace behind.
Hardcore.
Sheesh. Okay.
So you can talk
So,
us through like your thought process, what you're thinking of.
we're thinking it's fire type, obviously, because all right, but let's can you read it to me one more time, Azul?
A tale is told of a town that was angered by blank. Before the sun rose the next day, flames utterly consumed the town, leaving not a trace behind.
Okay. Can you
Or
give me
a tale is told of a town that angered blank, not by blank, that angered
okay.
blank.
Okay. So then the lifelines are stage, type, and attack name.
What
Yeah.
set the card is from, what
Oh, set.
stage the card is, and then read an attack name.
Okay. So let's go stage.
It is a stage 1 Pokemon.
Okay. Magcargo.
Locking
Ooh,
it
this is
in?
going in.
Yeah.
No. You
Dang.
locking it in? It is
Yeah.
not Macargo.
Dang, bro.
I'll give you the rest of the lifelines and let's see if you can guess it.
All
And
right.
then
All right.
also, for anyone playing along at home, give them a chance to guess it as well.
Yeah.
So the set the card is from is Burning Shadows. And an attack name is Splash Burn.
Volcanion. No, that's a basic. Yeah, I don't know that.
It is Gyarados.
Gyarados. Dang, bro.
It's the Venting Anger Gyarados.
Venting anger. Yes, I can see it in my mind.
Discard pile.
Why did I think it was fire?
Well, I mean, the
to
town
be
did
fair,
burn.
yeah. It talks about leaving a town burned
Okay,
in
then that's why.
flames.
Then that's why
Yeah.
I thought it was fire. Okay, I'm not upset with my guess.
No, it was a fair guess for sure, but it
Yeah.
was wrong. So 0 points to you, Andrew.
All right, fine. See, I wanted to go one lifeline and then take the lead with a 3-pointer.
See,
so that
and
was,
it would have been so sick if you had done it.
I know.
Just didn't
I
quite
know.
work out this time.
No.
Well, thanks for playing along. We appreciate it. And let us know down in the comments if you are watching along on the YouTube channel. Did you get it right? Many people love to tell us that they have far more points than Azul and I because
Yeah.
they have been able to guess so many more than us because we're not very good at this. But yeah, we're going to close the episode out this week by looking at some of the new cards recently revealed. They will be out of Japan's what is the set called? They're not Lost Origin. Our set will be Lost Origin. It's whatever their set equivalent will be.
Abyss.
Lost Abyss. Yes, there you go. So a couple more new cards revealed. We talked about Giratina a couple weeks ago. Now we get to talk about a few more, so we can get mine and Azul's thoughts as well as Andrew's a little bit. We'll try to get through these pretty quickly though, and we'll start things off with Aerodactyl V-Star. For a fighting and 2 colorless, its attack does Lost Dive, 240 damage, and then put the top 3 cards of your deck into the Lost Zone. So a lot of damage, but a pretty steep cost, having to effectively mill 3 cards, but it's not quite milling because they're just gone. You don't have a way to interact with those cards ever again. And then its V-Star power is Ancient Star for a colorless energy. So long as this Pokemon is in play, it gains an ability with the effect your opponent's Pokemon V in play have no abilities. So it kind of becomes a passive Path to the Peak almost, where you can have another stadium in play theoretically. And then as long as it doesn't get knocked out, you can lock your opponent out of using some of those powerful abilities. Azul, why don't you kind of give us your first initial thoughts on a card like this?
I mean, it's cool to see the continuous effect cards back. I mean, kind of continuous. It's not quite Full Metal Wall or like eight. Well, we don't want it to be ADP. Full Metal Wall was pretty cool though. Just like kind of something like that where it's like kind of a continuous effect throughout the whole game. It's not quite that because it is tied to this specific Aerodactyl. I'm pretty sure with how it's worded. Like even if you have a different Aerodactyl in play, once this one is KO'd, then that's it. Like it doesn't, which I guess could get like a little bit confusing if you had 2 of them in play. You send one up, attack, and then you retreat. You have 2 full HP Aerodactyls on your bench, and you're like, all right, opponent, choose which one you think has the ability on it.
Yo, that's sick. What if you do a little like, hide them under your hands and a little switcheroo,
Just switch them
Like
around.
the switching cups type of thing,
Like the yeah, like
3-card
the
monster or
flipping
whatever.
cups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you play a little mini game where it's like guess the Aerodactyl. You guessed wrong.
The
Yeah, I
ability
saw
is still
someone
there.
discussing this, and their remedy for it was just, whenever someone flips their V-Star marker over, have them put the V-Star marker on the Pokemon that used the attack, which I guess is a fair remedy, but that's not like an official way to do it. You don't technically have to do it like that. You just got to keep track of
Yeah.
it, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
it would be weird. I guess like the ruling would come down to if you couldn't figure out which one it is, if they both are the exact same. Like if one of them has damage on it, you should be able to figure out which one is the one with the ability, which one isn't. But if they're both the exact same, they'd be just like, all right, just pick one. That one is now the one with the ability, would be like the way they would solve it, I'm sure, in a tournament, because there's no difference between them. But it's cool to have something like that in the game, kind of again. Like I said, we've seen it, something similar to it with the Full Metal Wall, with the alter creation from the ADP. I'd like to see more of it, to be honest, and I wouldn't mind something that's actual continuous effect and not like a ability put on the Pokemon, but it's kind of like a step in that direction of like bringing something like that back, because I feel like that's like, I don't know, Pokemon just like gets rid of stuff so quickly and then like eventually brings it back, but doesn't keep stuff around. Like ancient traits, that one I always go back to is ancient traits. I wish ancient traits had been around since they were created, but even stuff like the Ace Specs, Prism Stars, whatever, I like those cards as well, where and now we have Radiance, but we have these gaps where it's like we don't have these Pokemon where you can only play one of them. They should just keep stuff more constant. I feel like they like get rid of these mechanics or these ideas for no reason, I feel like,
I
but it's
agree.
cool to have
Why
it
not
back.
sprinkle? Why not sprinkle them around?
Yeah.
Why not sprinkle a couple ancient traits? Like what? Why? What could it hurt?
Yeah, definitely a lot of different mechanics, and I don't know. I mean, it's obviously because they want to keep it fresh and keep changing things up because that helps sell cards, which is kind of the main goal. I feel like when it comes down to it, is like they want to move product, but Japan, the people who are designing these cards, they're definitely much more player base minded, I would say, than like the TPCI and the way that products are designed in a lot of aspects. We get collection boxes, they get decks, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, we have gotten a lot of like much better deck products over the last few years, the trainers toolkits, the league battle decks and stuff like that. But it's just like every single new product in Japan is like usually revolved around a deck of some sort, right?
Yeah, and hopefully they bring more, and it seems like they have been bringing more of it. But which does like kind of beg the question, I guess, a little bit, where it's like if it is a little bit more. I mean, the cards are made in Japan for Japan's format, which we are now roughly in line with, not quite. We're getting closer, and rotation isn't happening until sometimes next year. That was confirmed, right? So
Yeah.
maybe they're getting closer and closer. But even then, like if the the cards in Japan are being made more focused around playing the game, then I would assume that they would be fine, keeping some of these mechanics around, because it doesn't actually affect the product selling in Japan. And they don't, I think, care too much what happens on our end. It's just like, here are these cards. You could translate them to English and then give them to, everyone else however you want, TPCI. Here's your cards you get to work with, right? So I feel like it would be cool to start to see more stuff stick around. I think we might eventually get there, maybe.
Next up, we've got Galerion Berserker V with a first attack for a colorless energy, Feeling Fine. You draw 3 cards. And then its second attack, Treasure Rush for a metal and colorless. It deals 20 damage. And then 20 damage. Or sorry, it just deals 20 times each card you have in your hand. So these types of attacks have been around for forever, dealing more damage for how many cards you have, and I don't really think any of them have ever been that good. As long as you've been playing, Andrew, can you think of a time where an attack like this was ever competitively viable?
I had to tag that competitive word on it.
I was gonna say Audino.
I was
Audino
gonna
is
say,
cool.
bro, I got a gnarly Audino deck, bro. Yeah,
Indeedy, you mean, Azul?
it's indeed. Yeah, I got a gnarly Indeedy
Indeedy,
deck for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, that uses Crobat and Golbat to draw cards, and then Melodic to lock your hand from being disrupted. Competitive, no, but there are the tools in standard to make a fun deck with this. For at least the next 6 months or so, you've got Metal Saucer to power up your Berserker. The Berserker also draws cards itself, which is pretty neat. And then you could use Golbat and Crobat from what? Dark Battle Styles? Battle
Darkness
Styles.
Ablaze. Yeah, no, you're
Dark-
right. Battle Styles,
Battle
you're right. Yeah.
Styles. Yeah. You could use those guys to help draw cards, and then you could use scoop up nets with those. That's kind of what I was doing to, because they draw cards, and then you can play scoop up net. You go 1 for 3 to like pick them up, right? Into your hand to then announce a huge attack. Is this a good card? No, it is not, because Arceus and Palkia exist. So it's just, I feel like this is man. I could talk all day about power levels in the game right now, but I think basic V attackers are pretty much power crept out of the game right now. Also, like your Suicunes, your Zacian Vs, those guys just don't really stand a chance against your V stars and V maxes. So
it's pretty wild to say as well. If you showed Zacian V to someone who hasn't played the game in 10 years and they read the card and then you told them that it was not played, they would not believe you,
Well, it was broken for a minute.
It was,
and
yes.
then power. I mean, that just is a testament to how severe the power creep has been in the Sword and Shield block. It's been insane. When Dragapult VMAX came out, it was like the best card ever, and then the next set, Dragapult VMAX was like unplayable, right?
Eternatus, right?
Eternatus VMAX came out, and then Eternatus VMAX was then unplayable because Rapid Strike Urshifu came out, right? And then Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX was unplayable because Mew VMAX came out, right? And then Mew VMAX, it's been one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. They keep upping the ante, and right now, all basic Pokemon V are pretty much terrible if they don't evolve into a V star.
Yeah, they're definitely struggling for sure. All right, next card to take a look at, supporter card, Fantina. You may use this card only if you have 10 cards or more in the Lost Zone during your opponent's next turn. Your Pokemon, including Pokemon you play after this card, take 120 dose damage from your opponent's Pokemon V. So this one actually seems pretty solid. It's kind of like it's not a healing card, but it's like a preemptive healing card, which is sometimes better. Like instead of playing Cheryl after your opponent maybe one-hit KOs you, you play this ahead of time, and then they can't one-hit KO you at all. But it does have that, the restriction of 10 cards in the Lost Zone. But I'm excited to see how the Lost Zone ends up playing out. There's a lot of cards for that. So what do you guys think about this one?
I think this one's cool, and yeah, I mean, getting 10 cards in Lost Zone is definitely a lot, but with all of the new cards coming out there, it's really not unfeasible to make that happen. The Comfy engine is probably going to be pretty solid, where you look at the top 2, put one in your hand, one in the Lost Zone. And then I saw, it was Sander retweeted a tweet of something with this card where the person just had a picture of 2 Eldegoss V with a giant cape, or a cape of toughness and a double turbo energy, and then this card. So you can create a nice little infinite where if your opponent can't deal 300 damage to one-hit KO your Eldegoss, no, it's 350 damage, right, because of cape of toughness. If they can't deal 350 damage, you just slowly chip away and do 10 damage a turn with Eldegoss V and loop through the deck.
Yeah, this card's sweet. I like it a lot. I think that defensive strategies are fun. One of the only standard decks that I feel like I have genuinely enjoyed in the last couple of years has been the Lucario Melmetal deck, because I liked being able to Well, it slowed the game down, and I liked being able to like outplay my opponent by running them out of resources, right? And being able to play the resource game, which is something that I feel like is not as impactful nowadays in the Pokemon TCG. But I really like that, and I feel like this card pressures your opponent's resources, their ability to take knockouts, and I think that that's really cool.
We got a new special energy, gift energy. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides one colorless energy. And then if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, draw cards until you have 7 in your hand. So it is the same effect as Lucky Egg, which is a card that is legal in Standard right now. It has popped up every now and then in one prize decks, but it's never been that good. It's like something you'll see every once in a while. And I feel like gift energy is probably going to fill the same niche as that. Something that will probably be included in one prize decks that can utilize it as a single colorless energy. But that's probably about the most that we'll see from gift energy, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm always a huge I always get super excited when special energy get leaked. Like so when I saw a colorless special energy, I was really excited. It's okay. It's really good in one prize decks, but you can't really use it in one prize decks. Like the effect is super good in one prize decks, but there's no one prize Pokemon that can like actually take advantage of gift energy. So I'm always excited for special energy, but this one is like it feels like a I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a mystery energy or mysterious energy, or whatever. It's like it's good in Blissey, but like besides Blissey, and that's just because Blissey is Blissey, less so to do with the energy.
Sure. We've got a new Sableye here from Lost Abyss as well. Scratch for a colorless just deals 20, and then its main attack here, Lost Mine. For a psychic, you use this attack only if you have 10 cards or more in the Lost Zone. Put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in play in any way that you like for just a single psychic energy. Now, getting 10 cards, once again, in the Lost Zone is quite a tall task. You will be able to do it a little easier with the cards from this set, but even still, it's, something you're going to be trying to aim to have done by turn 2 usually. But from turn 2 on, if you can spread 12 damage counters for just one energy on a one prize Pokemon, are we at the point where Pokemon's HP is just too high for this much damage spread to be that strong? Or is this card pretty strong as it stands? What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, man, this card's trash, bro.
Stuff's got too much HP.
Yeah, Pokemon got too much HP now. I was talking about this on stream the other day. Like, if you compare the amount of damage Halucha from Furious Fist could do to a Seismitoad EX, which was the biggest Pokemon at the time, right? 180 hit points. A Halucha could do 120 damage for 1 energy to a Seismitoad EX, right? Which is 2/3 of its total hit points or total hit point potential, right? Here we have an extremely conditional. Now that Halucha's, 120 damage was conditional. You had to have strong energy. You had to have fighting stadium. You had to have muscle band, right? So it's a 3-card combo to put on your Halucha. This Pokemon released 6-7 years later, right? Is attempting to do 120 damage for 1 energy, but the requirements are much steeper. You have to put a sixth of your deck into the Lost Zone. And I can spread the damage counters, but that doesn't matter when Pokemon have 280 hit points. What are you spreading the damage to? You're gonna 280 hit points. I mean, it's an absurd amount of hit points. So I just don't feel like this number is doing enough against that amount of HP, and decks are very much capable of just limiting their board to just the big dudes and not putting the little dudes into play. So yeah, I mean, maybe this card gets played as like a one of in Lost Zone oriented decks to try and maybe cheese out a sneaky play here and there where you knock out a couple of Sobbles or something. But outside of that, I do think that Pokemon just have a lot more HP than this card is capable of dealing with.
Yeah, it could be like a weird closer in the Giratina deck. Like you miss by a little bit, they got a big charm, whatever. Use that to KO, like get through the big charm or the cape, and then also like pick up a Sobble KO or something. But yeah, maybe a one of in Giratina will be it's the most play it sees.
Yeah, that's fair. I could definitely see that. And then the next set of cards, it's kind of just a few different cards to talk about. And I think that you're a great person to have on for talking about these cards, Andrew, because They might be fun to mess around with in standard, but I think the potential for them really lies in the GLC format, and that's based around this Finneon with its ocean accompaniment ability. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a water energy card from your hand to one of your Pokemon that has the swim freely attack. So Energy Excel, pretty strong. The fact that you can do it to anywhere, it doesn't have to be on the bench like something like Frostmoth, is pretty good. But you're limited into what you can attach to. So let's look at those Pokemon that have the swim freely attack real quick. We've got Seadra, swim freely. The attack just does 10. Flip a coin if heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. And then it's Hydro Shot attack. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. So nice little sniping damage. You could theoretically one-hit KO anything if you get enough energies on it. And then Dugong is kind of the really strong one, I feel like, with its Arctic Return attack for 2 colorless energy. It does, of course, also have the Swim Freely attack, but Arctic Return for 2 colorless. 40 times, shuffle any number of water energy from your Pokemon back into your deck. This attack does 40 damage for each energy shuffled in this way. GLC, Andrew, does this seem pretty solid to you for a water deck?
I actually think that these cards probably stronger in standard than they are in Gym Leader Challenge. Gym Leader Challenge, you have so much more time to set up your Pokemon. So a card like Frostmoth or Blastoise from Boundaries Cross, Frostmoth from Sword and Shield base set, those cards don't have limitations, and you could set them up as early as the second or third turn of the game, which is just going to be a better use of your 6 bench spots than a card like Finneon, who can only accelerate to one single card in your deck, right? So in Gym Leader Challenge, yeah, these cards are actually not as powerful as some of those more accessible energy accelerators. This is something that I think is really interesting with the card design, though, because this is something that they are doing now, and I think that this is something that we can kind of talk about, is that they have been steadily printing like easier to get into play energy accelerators, but then to try and keep them from being broken, they just tell you exactly who you can accelerate the energy to. If we look at a card like Flaffy with its Dynamotor ability, if we look at a card like Frostmoth with its Ice Dance, we look at a card like Cherrim, right, with its Spring Bloom ability. These cards are some of the stronger energy accelerating cards that have been printed, ever. Dynamotor is like very good. Malamar had Psychic Recharge, very good. The fact that we've got Rain Dancers on stage 1 Pokemon, right? That has never happened before. But we've got it in the Sword and Shield block. And Chip, how playable are they in standard format?
Not great.
No, they are not playable. And the reason they're not playable is because standard is one of the fastest, most volatile formats that it's ever been. So, even though we have a stage 1 energy accelerator, they're not good enough because it's just like you have to evolve, right? So evolving is kind of like cringe in standard. It's like you're telling me I have to evolve something that's not a Drizzile. Like, what is this? Or not a Bibarel? What the heck? So now what we have, right, is we have Solrock, right? Solrock is Dynamotor to anywhere, but it's a basic, but you can only Dynamotor to one thing, right?
Right.
And now we have Finneon. Finneon can Rain Dance to anywhere, right? Which is broken, but you can only Rain Dance to these 2 cards, right? So it feels like in a way they're kind of like cheapening these abilities, but they're making them easier to get into play, so more viable. They just kind of gave you the Solrock Lunatone deck, right? They're like, here's the deck. There's no question about who you're accelerating to. It's these guys, go get them. And then here we have the Finneon, and it's like, all right, here's the Finneon deck. I know, Frostmoth, not really standard playable, but maybe Finneon, you could accelerate to your Dugong or your Seadra, and that's kind of all you get. It's interesting to see the card design go this way, but it is, I can't help but think that it's just because the stage 1 component, the stage 1 partners of these, right, your Frostmoths, your Cherrims, your Dynamotor, right, those guys just aren't playable in standard, so then now we have basic versions. So
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that
Is there any
definitely. Go ahead.
a question I had about these ones? Is there any other swim freely Pokemon, or is this a new attack with these? Because that's
It's
what I
new.
thought initially. Is there like if there's enough? It's new, so there's no.
I read it. I instantly, looked up swim freely. I was like, cool. What old combos are there? None. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, nothing yet. And that doesn't mean that something else in the future can't come out that is good with it. There is an old Kingdra that does 40 more damage for each water energy you have on it. So that's like an unlimited damage cap. Potentially you accelerate to the Seadra, evolve the Kingdra, boom. Then you're doing a bunch of damage. But we're
That's
talking
cool.
about needing a lot of energies in order to hit
Right.
it for big numbers. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll be better in standard than GLC. We'll see how it plays out. We got, I want to kind of wrap this up here because we're going a little long, but a couple more cards to mention. I'll just skip a few here. To the Palo-Sand from Lost Abyss. It's got the Sand Pit Tomb attack for 1 fighting energy. This attack does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So nice little spread attack for just 1 energy. It does have 140 hit points. Fighting is probably one of, if not the weakest type right now in Gym Leader Challenge.
Hey, Chip, you had to do the fighting type
I mean,
gym
do you
leaders like that?
disagree? Do you disagree?
Oh, I think that all gym leader challenge decks are good and special in their own way, Chip.
Sure, but
Yes.
would you not consider
I
fighting
mean,
to
you're talking about
maybe?
ranking them, why do you need to put labels on them like that, man?
Okay,
Listen,
so ignoring
fighting is a
that.
type that has it has a wish list, all right? Fighting's a
Okay.
type that has maybe a wish list. But
Okay.
Is this one
Yeah.
powerful enough to Is this cover any of its wishes or not quite? Because I feel like the most powerful decks usually have like water has been one of the strongest GLC types. They got the Manaphy now. Psychic's got Mew. Is spread even something that's like a viable strategy in GLC consistently? Like, can this help fighting out enough?
spread is definitely viable. Spread is not fighting's forte,
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Fighting is all about having like a really big guy, and doing a lot of damage. That's usually fighting's thing. So the Palisand is not really fulfilling any of the roles that I think, are looking to be fulfilled. I'm actually more interested in like the Stone Journer. I think for fighting type gym leader challenge decks, I think that Stone Journer is pretty cool.
And speaking of which, that's the next card to talk about here. It's got a colorless attack, Power Stone. Attach up to 2 fighting energy from your hand to your Pokemon in play in any way that you like. And then its second attack for a fighting and 3 colorless Lost Shoot, 120 damage. Put the top card of your opponent's deck into the Lost Zone. So, that can be definitely really annoying to deal with in a singleton format where every single card in your deck is a one of, and your opponent's just putting, your main attacker maybe into the Lost Zone. You can't even rescue Stretcher to get it back. It's just gone. And then also the energy acceleration is probably one of the things that fighting is missing the most right now. So you can get that a little bit through the Power Stone attack.
Yeah, I really like this card. He's huge. I mean, so that fulfills one of the things that fighting guys really like is to just have huge guys, right? So on the first turn of the game, you can put a Stone Journer into play. It's got 140 natural hit points with a Fighting Fury belt. That could be 180 hit points on a basic Pokemon with a Cape of Toughness. That could be 190 hit points on a basic Pokemon, which is now we're talking like some of the biggest Pokemon in Gym Leader Challenge format. Stone Journer could be that big. And, it could even wear the buff padding, right? Buff padding. If a Pokemon has retreat cost of exactly 4 plus 50 hit points. So multiple ways to give this thing 190 HP. You could put the stone fighting energy on it. That's minus 20 damage from attacks. And, it's strong energy compatible. So that 120 could be a 140, which means that you are taking some pretty relevant knockouts. And again, yeah, like you said, shipping off the top card of your opponent's deck to the Lost Zone in Gym Leader Challenge, that could be devastating. So I like it. It's a 1 energy accelerator as well. If you get it into the active spot on the first turn of the game, you can start beefing up your other attackers, and it's not likely to go down very easily since it has 140 hit points. So
It is
this
weak
card
to
definitely
grass,
gets
which is probably a main downside to the card. It does have a lot of upsides, obviously, but like grass is a pretty powerful type right now. So it will go down in that matchup specifically, but just in general, solid energy accelerator for sure.
Yeah.
And then
Oh.
one more card to mention. I wasn't even going to mention this card, but before we started recording, Azul was like, "Oh yeah, I think this card's cool." And I was like,
Oh,
"Really?
yeah.
I wasn't even going to talk about it." And that is Galerion Stunfisk from Lost Abyss with the Field Trap attack. For a metal energy, it deals 20 damage. And then if your opponent has a stadium in play, you discard that stadium. If you discarded a stadium in this way, discard 2 energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. When I see something like this, it's just got way too many, like something that relies on my opponent having a type of card in play. Usually to me, that means it's just not ever going to be that good. But Azul seemed to talk to us, Azul. Why do you think this card could be decent?
I just thought it was kind of cool because it works with Path to the Peak very well. If you're playing a deck that plays Metal Energy and you don't like Path to the Peak, you can get rid of it. If you play Path to the Peak, also your opponent probably wants to replace your stadium, so you could have this as a backup to that as well. It's just it at least has a cool, interesting attack, which a lot of Pokemon cards on average just lack having something cool and interesting. So that's basically it. Because like actually, one card I did want to bring up is like maybe the worst card ever printed was the Dawn Fan. So I did want to bring up the Dawn Fan real fast just because of
Bro.
how absurdly awful the card is. Um, so when you
This
compare it to
card
something like
is
Dawn Fan,
playable. That card is playable in Gym Leader Challenge, though.
yeah.
It
But like,
is playable. It's not as good as the one from Vivid Voltage, probably, but it is playable.
yeah, so like when you compare it to something like this Dawn Fan, I'll read the Dawn Fan in a second. Like just something like the, more stuff like the Stunfisk is just cool. Like that's actually like you could come up with enough scenarios in a metagame where like that attack would be worth, including the Stunfisk, right? So,
Right.
but the Dawn Fan on the other hand, stage 1 overspin. If this Pokemon evolved this turn, this attack does nothing. That's for a fighting for 110, and then the second attack is fighting colorless for 170 damage. So when you evolve, you just can't attack with the overspin. In GLC though, yeah, it could be what does the other Dawn Fan do? I forget what the other
It
Dawn
just
Fan
does
does.
120 for an energy, which is like pretty strong.
then-
Okay,
And then
yeah.
spread 10
20
to all your bench guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah, that one, yeah. So I don't know. When I read this card, I was like, this is one of the worst cards I think I have ever seen, as far as like standard goes, for sure. Like I was like, this is just so abysmally awful. There's no like redeeming quality to this Dawn Fan at all. And I'm sure there's a lot of other cards that are very, very bad, but it was just like it was so awful that when I read it for the first time on
It offended you.
yeah. Actually though.
Also, this guy's pretty derpy looking as well.
Yeah.
No, his artwork
Running
is
through the
sick.
field with his mouth open, his ears
Yeah,
flapping.
he's so sick, bro.
I don't know. I wasn't even gonna bring this one up, but yeah, Azul wanted to throw out how just awful this card is.
So bad.
Well, I think that is going to do it as far as the new cards go. And as far as our episode goes, I got to give a big thanks to Andrew for coming on and joining us. We wanted to do some kind of, off the, in this time between the World Championships and the North American International Championships, wanted to feature some other things going on in the game, in the community. So Gym Leader Challenge is definitely a big thing happening, so we were happy to have Andrew on. And Andrew, if you want to do any plugs, anything like that, where people can find you online, where they can learn more about GLC if they haven't heard it enough throughout, why don't you just let people know where they can find you?
Yo, thank you guys so much for having me on the episode. I really appreciate it. It was awesome getting to catch up with you guys and talk Pokemon cards. And thank you to everybody listening. If you want to check out my content, I stream every weekday starting at about 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/TrickyJim. I'm also Tricky Jim on YouTube, and Enjoy Friend, ENJOI Friend on Twitter.
You appreciate it a bunch, Andrew. You can also follow myself and Azul on Twitter and all our social medias. Myself at TrainerChip, Azul at Azul_GG, and also follow us over on the podcast Twitter at Uncommon_Energy.
Yep. Thanks a bunch. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment, like, subscribe. As always, appreciate the support, and we'll catch you all next week, 7 a.m. Eastern.
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays.